Pixel art games tend to be much more accessible for those who don't have a very powerful phone, but don't be mistaken if you think they are light or casual games. There are titles in this style that are far better than many big gacha games, for example. In this video, I'm going to show you 15 offline pixel art games that are definitely worth checking out, so drop a like and come with me. If you like Castlevania, and we're not talking about Metroidvania, you're gonna love this game that's heavily inspired by it. Let's talk about TOZIUHA Night. You play as Xandria, an iron alchemist who seeks revenge against Count Dracula. Unlike many heroes who rely on pure magic or conventional weapons, Xandria uses her alchemical skills to fight against hordes of demons. I know you've seen this story somewhere before, right? One of the standout features is the laboratory and alchemy system. Throughout the journey, you collect materials to craft potions and upgrade Xandria's abilities. The game also features the classic whip as you've seen, and you'll face many vampires inside gigantic castles. It strongly reminds you of NES and CNES games, but it's faster paced and better adapted for modern standards, which ends up making the game much better overall compared to the traditional experience. I absolutely love isometric pixel art games like this one. I honestly find them really beautiful. Let's talk about this very underrated game called Tales of BLOOMRISE. You take on the role of Ray, a young adventurer who lives in the peaceful village of BLOOMRISE. What starts as a simple life quickly turns into an epic journey as she begins to explore ancient ruins and dangerous dungeons. The game features procedurally generated dungeons, almost like a roguelike, where each run is unique and you must face different monsters to collect treasures. But the coolest part comes now. You can interact with more than 10 unique NPCs, each with their own routine and backstory. Building relationships with the villagers and exploring an open world makes the experience really interesting. The game was recently updated with fishing systems, new environmental interactions like cutting trees and breaking barrels, and interactive shops. A game that mixes strategy with RPG in an almost perfect way and also serves as a tribute to a classic. Let's talk now about Songs of Conquest. Developed by Lava Potion, it's widely considered the spiritual successor to the legendary Heroes of Might and Magic franchise. You control powerful heroes known as bearers. They explore the map, collect artifacts, and lead armies, all while engaging in a very well-designed tactical RPG combat system. Unlike other RPGs that rely on mana, this game uses an essence system instead, which completely changes how the game plays. It's a bit hard to explain here, but once you start playing, you understand it very quickly. The game features very distinct factions, each with its own campaign and playstyle, from regular human factions in the campaign mode, for example, to necromancers and undead armies. Retro City Rampage is an open-world action-adventure game that works as a massive and frantic parody of 80s and 90s pop culture, and now let's talk about it. The core gameplay is heavily inspired by the early entries in the Grand Theft Auto series, especially GTA 1 and GTA 2, with a top-down camera perspective just like you're seeing here. And just like in the classic GTA games, you can steal more than 50 different vehicles, use an arsenal of over 25 weapons and ridiculous power-ups, and cause chaos across the city, escaping from the police while running over pedestrians and destroying the environment. Just like GTA, the game does have a story and actual missions that connect to the main character, but also like GTA, I think the best part is the freedom to just roam around the city. Retro City Rampage is far more ambitious than it looks, and honestly the only people who don't like it are the ones who never played it. This game is a pixel art beat 'em up, and just that alone already won my heart. Let's talk now about Phantom Break. Unlike many games in the genre, Phantom Breaker uses a two-lane system similar to classics like Fatal Fury or Guardian Heroes, and believe me, this is actually one of the weaker parts of the game. The combat system is inspired by traditional fighting games, allowing move cancels, flashy special attacks, and aerial combos. As you defeat enemies, you gain experience to level up and spend points in a skill tree, improving attributes like strength, speed, and defense. I did a bit of research, and it looks like this game is actually a version of a fighting game that also has an anime adaptation. Although, to be honest, I'm not familiar with it, and it's worth mentioning that even without offline play, the game does support co-op mode. This one is also incredibly beautiful in my opinion, and it's part of a series I really like. Let's talk about OCEAHORN Chronos Dungeon. Unlike the open world fully 3D experience of Oceanhorn 2, Chronos Dungeon is a top-down dungeon crawler with pixel art graphics inspired by classic Super Nintendo and Mega Drive games. 4 heroes enter the mystical Chronos Dungeon in search of the Paradigm Hourglass, an artifact capable of altering the course of history and restoring the world of Gaia to its former glory. You can switch between characters to defeat enemies or solve the game's puzzles, and doing so is very simple. The main enemy is Chronos himself, the god of time, who has deep connections to the series' mythology. One of the game's best features is its support for local co-op multiplayer for up to 4 players, even though the game is completely offline. This is a game that almost nobody noticed when it launched. It really flew under the radar, and it's also super charming, right? Let's talk about Metal Slug Tactics. Metal Slug Tactics is one of the boldest and most successful genre shifts ever made by a classic franchise. If you position a character to attack an enemy that's also within another ally's line of sight, that ally will automatically attack as well. Mastering these combined attacks is the key to winning. The game also features a minimalist story, just like the classic 2D Metal Slug titles, but of course that doesn't mean it's bad, quite the opposite. The game fully focuses on gameplay and it works extremely well. The developers managed to perfectly replicate the exaggerated and detailed animations from the original arcade games, so it keeps a lot of the original essence, just presented in a completely different format. This game has only 10,000 downloads on the Play Store, and that's honestly absurd. Let's change that right now and talk about IRRUPT. The game is structured around exploring an open world and, most importantly, procedurally generated dungeons. You travel through a mystical world, facing hordes of monsters and bosses. It focuses on close-range combat swords and abilities requiring strategic use of dodges. In addition to finding ready-made items, you can upgrade your equipment and modify their random attributes to maximize damage or defense. You can also unlock and improve spells and combat techniques as you level up. At first glance, the game may seem quite limited, but even in the very first moments, you can tell it was made with love for pixel art RPG fans. Forager is one of those dangerous games because it's extremely addictive. It's basically impossible to jump in and play for just 1 hour. Let's talk about it now. You start on a small island with nothing but a pickaxe. Your goal is to gather resources to craft structures and tools similar to Minecraft, for example. The map is divided into square tiles. You use the money you earn to buy new land. Each new piece of land can contain a puzzle, an NPC with a quest, a dungeon, or new resources. Everything you do gives you experience points. When you level up, you choose a skill from a massive talent tree that expands into 4 areas: industry, economy, magic, and gathering. The game keeps things simple when it comes to graphics and doesn't really have a story at all, but it's impressive how addictive and engaging it manages to be. And I'd say this is one of those games I put in the genius category, a game that truly deserves to be immortalized. Let's talk now about EVOLAND. You start in a completely black and white world with 8-bit graphics in a Game Boy style look and no sound at all. As you explore the map and open chests, you don't just gain items but actual evolutions for the game itself. This is interesting because even though we're talking about pixel games, you only stay in true pixel art for about 30% of the experience. After that, the game can shift into other visual styles. At first, you can only move sideways. Later on, you unlock free movement, background music, save points, and even random battle encounters. The game features everything from classic RPG style combat to things like card game RPG systems, for example. It's also important to mention that there are 2 games in the series and both of them are truly perfect and brilliant. Just look at the graphics of this game, it's absolutely beautiful. I honestly find it really gorgeous. Let's talk about a very interesting and underrated Metroidvania called Deep Dungeons. You take on the role of Luke, a bold treasure hunter who enters a legendary dungeon. The goal isn't just to get rich, he must also prevent the resurrection of a great evil that threatens the world. The story is told in a simple and straightforward way, serving as a great backdrop for exploration. You explore a massive dungeon filled with secrets, shortcuts, and locked areas. Combat focuses on the use of swords and tools. The boss fights are the highlight, requiring you to memorize attack patterns in order to win. Even though there are many games in this genre, Dungeon X Dungeon stands out on Android for being simple, going straight to the point, and of course being completely offline. But this might be one of the most complete games on our list, and it truly feels like a perfect game. It's hard to find someone who doesn't like it. Let's talk about Children of Morta. Unlike other games where you choose a lone hero, here you control the Bergson family. They are the ancestral guardians of Mount Morta and must fight against the corruption that is consuming the world. The game features 6 different characters, each representing a classic class, from the father, who plays more like a tank, to the oldest daughter, who is a very strong archer. However, progression is fully shared. When you level up one character, you unlock passive bonuses for the entire family. The game is a roguelite, meaning the dungeons are procedurally generated, and if you die, you return home. However, in Children of Morta, death doesn't feel like a failure, and surprisingly, the game also delivers a very well crafted story. Let's talk now about Bloomrise. You start in a completely black and white world with 8-bit graphics in a Game Boy style look and no sound at all. As you explore the map and open chests, you don't just gain items but actual evolutions for the game itself. This is interesting because even though we're talking about pixel games, you only stay in true pixel art for about 30% of the experience. After that, the game can shift into other visual styles. Just look at the graphics of this game, it's absolutely beautiful. I honestly find it really gorgeous. Let's talk about a very interesting and underrated Metroidvania called Deep Dungeons. This game is perfect when it comes to visuals. Everything is so well crafted that it's honestly impressive. Let's talk now about BLOOMTOWN, a different story. The game takes place in the 1960s in the quiet American town of BLOOMTOWN. You play as Emily, who along with her brother Chester is sent to spend the summer holidays at their grandfather's house. What initially seems boring completely changes when children start to disappear and you uncover a sinister conspiracy involving demons and adults kidnapping people. The game perfectly balances the nostalgia of a classic American summer ice cream shop, movie theaters, neighborhood gardens with a growing supernatural horror. Emily and her friends don't fight alone, it is each character can equip captured monsters that act as their companions. The game also delivers a completely different gameplay experience between daytime and nighttime, especially inside places like the labyrinth. This game has only 1,000 downloads on the Play Store and I'm sure you've never heard of it. Let's talk now about ATHENA Crisis. If you've ever played Advanced Wars or Wargroove, you'll feel right at home immediately. The focus here is tactical and straightforward. You command more than 40 different unit types including infantry, tanks, naval fleets and air squadrons. Where you place your troops really matters. Forests provide cover, mountains increase vision range and rivers slow down movement. However, unlike other games in the genre that focus on a single global war setting, ATHENA Crisis takes a science fiction approach. One of the strongest features of the game is its built-in map editor. You can instantly share your creations and play content made by other players from around the world. Let's wrap up this list with a tribute to classic 16-bit Zelda, perfect for anyone who enjoys old school RPGs. Let's talk about AIROHEARTH. The game takes place in the land of Engard. You control AIROHEARTH, a young hero from a quiet and ordinary town. The story is driven by the conflict between AIROHEARTH and his own brother, who seeks to unleash an ancient evil. It's a classic good versus evil story, but it also explores themes like betrayal, redemption, and the weight of family legacy. The heart of the game lies in its dungeons. Each dungeon is filled with enemies, traps, and puzzles that require logical thinking and the use of specific items found along the way. While it clearly draws heavy inspiration from The Legend of Zelda, AIROHEARTH tries to build its own identity through runes and spells, along with a progression system that is more complex and different compared to Zelda. And that's the list. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments which pixel art game surprised you the most. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.